audience. Welcome back to Location 1980's Art Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Fortune, here with my co-host, Eric Ringman, and our special guest tonight, Amy Kells. We'd like to remind you guys that we're doing this blitzkrieg of podcasts. This is 6 guests in 6 days, I think.
It's something along those lines. We're definitely doing 4 releases in 4 days.
And this is all leading up to our upcoming show, 2024, June 29th, Feminine Undertones. All female artists, local talent, and Amy is going to be one of them. And how do you feel about being in the show, Amy?
Well, first of all, thank you for saving the best for last as far as podcast guests go. Just kidding. I love everybody here. And
strong opening.
Speaking of being a part of the women's show, that is probably the biggest resounding feeling I have is just like being a part of that group. Couldn't be more proud of my fellow ladies. And I've always appreciated the fact that the voices here, it doesn't matter, gender or identity or anything. We have just the most diverse background of people. So to celebrate art with my girls, I couldn't be more excited.
That's great.
I love hanging out with the girls.
Thanks for being on. We asked you in pre-production, have you ever been on a podcast?
I have not. I've not been on an official podcast, no. I've been interviewed, but I don't think that counts.
And you also just had a commercial, Travel Costa Mesa?
Yeah. Travel Costa Mesa approached me to be featured in their promotional commercial to bring people to the City of the Arts. So I couldn't be more honored. It was fun. And they brought in like a whole production and camera and lights and everything. So I'm not afraid of you.
It was super cool too because we actually watched it coming from a different art workshop where we were drawing.
Yeah.
Figure Brown, another artist, but we were at In-N-Out's drive-in, and you just text me, and so we watched it in the car.
On the screen in the In-N-Out line.
And we're like, the fuck? Because I couldn't figure out the audio, and then finally we got to hear it again. And I'm like, we got to watch that.
So we watched it once, 1920s style, and we watched the second time with sound.
Yeah.
I'm very flattered. But it also is like 90 seconds, so.
It was so cool.
It's a fascinating hodgepodge.
Sure is.
You said
it was a great experience.
I forgot your line.
I'm very honored to have been a part of it.
That's what's important.
They did like a Michael Bay jump cut. Like you're like whatever you said. They were like, and also at the beach. And I was like, wait.
I would like to shout out to the production studio that they did a great job.
It was cool.
And I felt like their efforts to represent my artwork and make sure that even though it was a commercial, that my name was represented, that they were not just feeding me lines, they were checking and running things by me so that I was representing myself authentically. I want to give credit where credit is due there, that I think they did a great job.
And they did
that's important to me.
That's great. It was a good shout out to the City of Arts, Costa Mesa.
Absolutely. And Travel Costa Mesa is awesome because I reached out to them, let them know about the women's show, and they put it on their calendar.
Hell yeah.
So thank you, Travel Costa Mesa.
That's cool.
This is a pretty major production for us this summer, especially. I would say this is our big show of the summer season.
Hot Girl Summer.
Of the whole season.
The ultimate Hot Girl Summer in the art studio.
Hashtag, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's do it. So we're going to start at the beginning, Amy, with a lot of our guests. So to remind our audience, these are abridged versions of our podcast. We've had 2 guests, back-to-back guests, all these guests really quick. And we want to do more expansive things, but tonight we're going to be focusing on the art. So how...
In your own personal art history.
Yeah, and so when, were you 3 or 7 or high school? When did you like art, as different than just most kids have to go to art class?
I actually love this question. I get this a lot, especially when I'm live painting. People will be like, oh, how long have you been painting? So, when did you start making art? And my response is, when did you stop?
Oh.
Yeah, it's a thinker.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we all kind of are innately creative. And usually when you are confronted with that question, just as any human, you kind of are back in kindergarten when, your mom's telling you don't color on the walls or stop making a mess. I didn't stop, is the answer. So it's hard to define a beginning and an ending. When I started pursuing art professionally was when I was 19 years old. So pursuing a degree in fine arts was something I never really planned for or thought was possible for me.
Let me interrupt you really quick. So in high school, were you like, oh, I'm pretty good at art? Did you do a show? Or,
not at all, actually. I was like a secret sketchbook kid. I didn't show my artwork really to anyone. I did have an incredible high school art teacher. Shout out Kathy Rose. Ooh. I think she might actually be coming to the women's show. She's a local as well. Awesome. And she entered one of my colored pencil drawings from an art class into a competition against my will. She actually forged my signature on the application because I was absent.
Way to go, Kathy.
Typical Amy.
That is the ultimate.
Absolutely, she's the best. And that single act of hers,
that's great. That
single forgery, defined a huge turning point in my life because I ended up winning a scholarship for that colored pencil. It was a surfboard design that had birds on it and everything. Very fitting. And I won a scholarship for a portfolio development class at Laguna College of Art and Design. Awesome. Now, I didn't end up actually going there after high school. I thought fancy art school, Laguna Beach, that's for other people, not for me.
And also,
but I ended up going there eventually.
For our audience that doesn't know you, you are from SoCal.
I am, yes.
So you were born and raised here. You grew
familiar
up
with Laguna?
Yes. Yes, I am Orange County, born and raised. Don't hold it against me. I love it here. I do. I love the people. I am very fortunate to be in a beautiful place. I did feel the need to get away from Orange County after high school for a bit. I went to college in Flagstaff, Arizona, and studied sociology for 2 years before I decided to come back and pursue art in college.
And how'd that go? Was that Flagstaff, you said?
Yeah, Flagstaff.
Was that Arizona?
Arizona. Northern Arizona.
Wildcats? Or wait.
Lumberjacks?
Sure. Oh.
I wouldn't say I necessarily have the most lumberjack pride or anything. But the trees
I can't tell.
The trees I am a fan of. I am a fan of the trees. That's really what drew me out there. The nature and the elevation, honestly. I liked that it was kind of opposite from the environment here. It snows there. It's over 7,000 feet, which is even higher than Denver. So I kind of am a mountain goat. I like to be in the trees. I like to walk around and pick up rocks, see what's underneath. So it gave me an environment where I was really stimulated in a new way.
But did you say you went to LCAD when you were 19?
Yes.
So it was a short-lived
1920
stint. It was not a full 4-year.
No. I studied sociology and psychology as a double major at NAU for 2 years. And I was still succeeding in my classes. I was doing really great. But I think studying society is actually what kind of woke me up and made me realize what I wanted to do in it. I didn't want to sit and analyze it from outside of it anymore, and also studying social problems, seeing the intersectionality of just my identity, my place in the world, and how that could, what I could do to create an impact on society. I realized that the way to do that was through creativity.
Nice.
And inspiring other people to be creative, even more so. My mom likes to say, I don't just make art, I make artists. And arguably, I think more incredible creation has happened by proxy because of the influence that I've had on my students and other things than by my own two hands.
Did you know when you quit, the end of the 2 years, this is going great, you could keep doing it, but were you like, fuck that, I'm going back to LCAT? Or even if you were going to do art, you could have went to Chicago or somewhere else. What drew you back home? I mean, it's your home, so...
I had no plan.
Okay.
People thought I was making a big mistake.
But
everyone
you quit,
except for my mom.
You're like, I'm not doing it.
I packed everything from my dorm into my Toyota Yaris and drove home after the end of the semester. I mean, I finished my classes. I still got good grades. I got my credits. And I knew... worst case scenario, I could go back, I could change my mind, but I just had this calling, and I was just driving west into the sunset, and my dad always used to say something to me, is like, you jump off the cliff and you build your wings on the way down. Like, the pressure of committing to something like that is the motivation.
Like,
speaking of, Just had a firework go off outside.
It's like burning the ships,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in reality, was the biggest risk ever? No. I was going back to where I'm from.
But did you have like a gap year, or did you?
I had a gap semester
Okay.
where I built my portfolio from the ground up, and I applied to Otis, Art Center, and LCAD. I got into all three unexpectedly. I took the one that gave me the most scholarship. And it also happened to be the one closest to home, so I could live with my mom. She would have loved to be able to financially assist me in tuition, but I'm very grateful she did what she could and let me live in her apartment for free while I finished a 4-year Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. So ultimately, I was in college for 6 years total. I graduated with my BFA in illustration from LCAD when I was 25.
Nice. Did we meet like right after that, or
Before, actually?
No shit.
I was still in my junior senior year when we met.
And,
I'm curious now. What's the context of that?
yeah.
Shall
so you
I?
can tell the story. Yeah, please.
So I was.
'Cause I think I just was here also, like just barely, briefly in 1980, and it might have even been World
How
Gallery.
many
I'm
years
not
have
sure.
you been here now?
Almost 15. Yeah, 15.
And I'm at seven and a half, almost seven, a little over 7 years.
Yeah, so it's a local, I guess, bar, club,
A little deeper than that.
Yeah.
So I'll try and keep this brief because this could be a bigger backstory, but we're doing the abridged version. So
Steve Kearns.
it all starts with Noise Revolt.
Yes.
So Noise Revolt is a art and music collective that I got involved in I think it was 2013, 2014. And I just saw what they were doing. It was the first time I saw live painting, other than like in a photo or something. And I saw it real life, and I got to meet people and talk to people who were painting on a dance floor. And I was like, what can I do to get involved in this?
Awesome.
My 2 favorite things. Let's do both. And I just always feel when I'm at a social thing or a party or a concert, a little out of place. So having a thing to do and a brush in my hand, it was home. So I started coordinating artists and vendors for Noise Revolt, and I booked you as a live painter for our White Noise New Year's in LA. I
Did
think
you
that
have
was
an
a
ad
big
out
one.
and he
That was a big
responded
one.
to
too.
it, or how did he find you, or you found
Word of
him?
mouth. So I just
Well-
ran a Google form and Facebook and
And I had
Like, if you know somebody,
Facebook
suggest him
events
here.
was
I
like
think
the main platform that we got the word out on. It was kind of amazing.
I think I also like
It
painted
doesn't work like that anymore.
before they formalized it here at Wayfarer.
Yeah,
That's the
it
first
started
time-
at Wayfarer originally, back when it was called Detroit Club.
Yeah, but
And
it was just
Tiki
like
Bar was the first
they were
venue
like-
I went to.
they were like, "Yo, we just want to paint," and like when the party's going on. So I did it, but it was before they had a. What was your position?
Artist vendor coordinator.
Yeah, so when I first met them, they didn't have that. I was just a guy painting, and
Yeah,
then
it was
she
just-
helped like take it next level.
I wanted to just be involved, and nobody really asked me to be artist vendor coordinator. It was a friend of ours, shout out Golnar
Jessica?
Parang,
Oh, go on.
who
Nice.
just told everybody when to show up, and like nobody was coordinating it. So when it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and she had other responsibilities, it kind of like passed reins to me because I was just there and somebody had to do it. So I was in my I'll never forget, I was in my senior year at LCAD, like doing all the big projects, working on my thesis, and also coordinating monthlies. But I think that challenge made my art better, and it also gave me this connection to like, oh, I know what I want to do after art school, which that transition for a lot of students is really hard, of going from art school to real world. Where does my art exist in the world? Where do I put this stuff that I'm creating? Where's my audience? And I'd found it. And 1980 was already involved in a way with Ethan and lots of stories. But so you had already painted Noise Revolts before.
Yeah,
I
almost everyone, I think, in the beginning.
Exactly. So you were kind of involved with them before I came into the picture. And then when I started coordinating, you became re-involved because
Would
you
you
did
say-
do the move to LA.
What was that White Cube?
White Cube. Yeah, White Cube is awesome.
I wonder what party that was.
It was White Noise New Year's. I remember it.
Okay.
That was one of our biggest parties at the time, and I was really, really proud of that event.
Would you say after being involved with so many, they kind of blend together from time to time?
No.
A bit of a blur. Well, I'm glad you can make that distinction because I can't.
No. Well, Noise Revolt used to have themes, too.
Right.
Really fun ones.
Yeah, for
We had
sure.
Noir Revolt. That was all
that'd be
black
cool.
and white and
I was
old
Bob-
Hollywood kind of vibes.
I was
like
Bob Ross
film noir.
once. Yeah.
We also had one that was
With
called
real hair?
Land
Yeah.
Before Wine, which was dinosaur/wine themed. Like, it was just silly, like,
I like it.
goofy. So Noise Revolt was a really special thing, and I credit the connections that I made through my participation in Noise Revolt with where I am today.
Who's the homies like Jesta?
Shout out Jesta.
They know us. Cody. Who was all there? It was a big
Jesta,
crew.
Jeremy,
Yeah.
Dylan, Glick. So, I mean, I would give them all a proper shout out if
Sure,
I had
yeah.
the time.
It's all good.
But yeah, Jeremy Raskin, Dylan Glick, Jesta Trujillo, those, and also Tim, Techmaster Tim.
They were very.
They were my
like,
brothers.
They were like nimble-minded. Like it could be a small.
And they're all doing
club,
amazing stuff
big
now.
warehouse or whatever it was, but the vibe was the same.
It was the launch pad for all of our creative careers. And that's exactly what they intended it to be, was a platform where the barrier between who's putting on this event and who's attending it is blurred. It called everyone in and created an environment where people felt like they could be a part of it too.
That's great.
And I think breaking down those barriers is still something in the events that I do now that I try to do.
Very
I like
runner
to
energy.
challenge that. Yeah. Like, it's not about what this event is giving to you. It's like, what can you bring here? What can you offer?
Participate.
Exactly.
That's
And
great.
that energy is what gave me some of the most joyful experiences in my life. So it's only natural for me to extend that.
So we met through Noise Revolt, but then how did you like come to 1980?
Well, after I graduated art school, I was looking for a studio. You know, I moved out of my mom's house.
Was it like Craigslist or like I can't remember.
No, it was Ethan.
Ramberg. Yeah.
It was Ethan Ramberg.
Shout out to Rambo
Shout out to Rambo.
and Bailey. Love
Oh
you
my
guys.
gosh, they're some of my favorite people. I love when two amazing people like marry each other because I'm just like, yes.
And they meet at 1980, which just happened. It's a
Multiple
theme.
Multiple times.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's like a beacon.
That's cool.
Yeah, shout out
So
to
you came here and got
them.
an art studio and
Yeah. So
started
Ethan
crushing.
had heard that I was looking around. He recommended here, set up the meeting. I think he sent me like the photos of the place, the studio space that I moved into first. And immediately I knew, I was like, that's it. Like, that's my spot. Like, that's where the magic's going to happen. And
7 years, huh?
7 years later, yeah.
A lot happened.
Yeah, I've moved around to a couple of different spots within the collective. I really love where I'm at now. But yeah, this place, it has a lot of history for me and is a beloved structure. Like, if anything happens to me, I'm coming back and haunting 1980.
Like a good witch.
Oh, yeah,
Good
of course.
guess.
Like, in a fantastic way. I'll just, like, mess with the Bluetooth and, like, you know, kind of
Like
fuck with
that
people a
fucking-
little
Well, we
bit.
already have a witch that does that.
The
She's going to
shop light?
retire sooner or later. So.
Just pull some shenanigans from the other side.
Awesome.
You'll
Who's
know.
that, Layla?
Oh, you're probably right. That'll be the ultimate podcast.
I thought you were
She's
talking
hard to
about,
get.
I thought you were talking about the Shop Light 40 or whatever. That Bluetooth.
Oh,
That
yeah.
hungry ass.
I would hear this
Oh, the
beep.
world's thirstiest Bluetooth that
I would
just
hear
is
this
dying
beep
to
go
connect.
on and off
Oh my
every time I
God.
turned the lights on and off in the gallery for like 6 months or a year, and I had no idea what the hell that noise was. And one day I asked, I don't know if it was you or who it was, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's a Bluetooth speaker inside the shop light." I'm like, "What?"
Why?
It's
Yeah.
extremely
It's like, no, that's a
unnecessary,
product
yeah.
that exists and we happen to have. Anyway,
I don't think we needed to combine those two things. But
Well,
poor
that's
thing. It was just looking for connection, aren't we all?
aren't we all?
World's
That's a whole other
thirstiest
podcast I
Bluetooth,
could do.
yeah.
And so, like, being here, you've made, like, a lot of relationships. You had a solo show.
I did.
You found kind of a new aesthetic, or how would you describe your aesthetic? We're looking at a piece right behind you.
Yeah.
For those of you listening
or
to
even,
us.
what is
I
it
would call
called?
it-
Series, collections,
Yeah,
periods, maybe.
This is an interesting one. I think I have a lot to say on this. So what you're asking me is how my aesthetic or my style kind of evolved
Yes.
by being here. Hugely.
And why?
And why? Yes. Okay. So coming from Laguna College of Art and Design, I actually didn't study fine art there. I studied illustration because I was like, I got to make money at this somehow. I'll make art for money. So I learned, hey.
Love it.
Wasn't born rich.
Still does make art for money, just not illustrations.
Yeah. You got to sell out to buy in, baby. And every artist has the right to define success for themselves, to be clear.
Sure.
But for me, I was not under the expectation that I would just be able to paint from a self-driven place sustainably. So my expectation was build skills, go to school to learn how to do the things that will allow me to say yes to every client opportunity, and then try to aim that in a direction that's as close to my passions as possible.
Okay.
So that was kind of the strategy coming out of art school. And interestingly, I actually got into a car accident about 6 months after art school that left my right hand unable to hold a pencil for about 6 months. So we had to improvise. Didn't plan for that one.
Did you go lefty or what?
I could hold like this. So the way that I would draw when I was illustrating, like on a tablet, and the precision, and it's more wrist action, and the pencil grip is entirely different. It also was like bad for like my posture and stuff too. I am very grateful. I look back at that getting T-boned by an SUV that ran a red light as thank you.
But did you die?
No. And I
That's good.
got very lucky, of course, to walk away with just soft tissue damage and a couple hairline fractures. But what that forced me to do was change the orientation with which I was approaching my surface,
Nice.
ergonomically speaking. So there's no way I could just stop making art. But what it forced me to do is kind of go back to painting in an overhand grip and standing. So I would paint standing and move more of my elbow and my shoulder and paint larger, because it wasn't about illustrating all the itty bitty details. And I think that kind of gave me a gift of like zooming out, standing back, and then also becoming much more expressive in the flow of my movements. And that just married in with what was already happening in the like coordinating artists and doing events, because painting on a dance floor, like, I'm standing, I'm moving, I'm flowing. So incorporating that into what I'm doing here, having the space to spread out and having a studio space where I don't have to pack everything down and put it all away.
Or go to sleep next to it.
Yeah, I don't have to sleep next to it and wake up next to it. I can leave it a mess and come back and it's just the way I left it. And I can not worry about spilling paint on the carpet or, we got concrete floors. Like, it's built for this. And also the social aspect too. Being able to share in art making. It's never been about the product for me. Like, people ask me a lot of the time with this style of my work, do you sketch it out? Do you have like a vision of what it's going to be? And the honest answer is no. I am going with the flow. I think that's exactly why it is the way it is because I let it create itself. It's more like planting a seed, watering it, and tending to it as it blossoms into what it's going to be.
Yeah, you're less an engineer, more a shepherd.
Precisely. I like to think of myself as an art gardener more than
I like
anything.
That. That's good.
I like that. A quick art challenge, 1980 challenge.
Okay.
How many artists can you name that you met here and kicked it with?
Don't do names with me right now.
I mean, cool people that we know who we've already mentioned.
Oh
several
man,
times.
I mean, I because of the women's show, like, I'm inclined to just like go down the list of like amazing, incredible artistic women that I've had the fortune, no pun intended, Jesse Fortune, of meeting through here. And number one is my absolute ride or die best friend, Camille Murray, aka Art by Meerkat. At Art by Meerkat on Instagram. She will also be a part of the women's show. She's supposed to be sitting here with me tonight, but she is recovering from a tonsillectomy.
My co-host for It's Gonna Be Lit in the Days of Yore.
She's an absolute legend, and I don't know how I ever lived my life without her. Like, that's my soulmate right there. We're gonna grow old together. My life will be perfect just because I know her now. Finally.
Start with Cammie and who else? that sticks out?
You know, Christina Baker jumps to mind. She just had a museum show recently too, and
It's
I
open
couldn't
right
make
now
it
in Oceanside. It's
I gotta
open
get down there and go check it out.
through July or maybe even August.
Yeah, Christina Baker is an incredible painter. I really
She's got another one
respect
opening in
her
Sonoma in
practice.
like a couple weeks.
And
She's hitting it hard this year.
I got to relate to her on multiple levels too, because with my background in, you know, having a private art school BFA experience, she went to RISD. I went to LCAD. Like,
was that it? Was it?
Rhode Island School of Design.
Okay.
You know, they call it like the Harvard of art school, or the Hogwarts of art schools.
Wow.
Well, as I always like to say for West Coast people, because if I meet people that, if you're not in the art world, they haven't heard of RISD, especially out here. And I'm like, you know what Caltech is for engineering? It's like that, but for arts.
Yeah, it's like that. So just being able to kind of relate with her on that level of going through something that's like very much an institution. There are right and wrong answers. There are favorites. There are
Technical.
like, I felt a little, I'm so grateful that I had the experience and I learned a lot, but I did feel like I couldn't, it wasn't about expressing myself. And every art school is different. But being able to go through an institutional experience and have this training and, you know, kind of this prestige sort of pressure coming through that experience, and then also meeting her and having just like, oh yes, you're a silly goose too. And we're doing art for passion-driven reasons, but we also can take ourselves seriously. Like, we know when to take ourselves seriously and when not to take ourselves seriously.
Love it.
So she's definitely somebody I've always looked up to and admired, and also feels like a peer. And I'm really proud of her for her museum show. I'll have to go check that out. Let's see, who else? I mean, there's so many people. I feel like I'm like, you're putting me on the spot. I'm like leaving people out.
I mean, it's a long list.
It sure is.
Yeah, you could fill an hour with that.
I want to say too, we've got new people. I love our new people.
Also too, like Amy, you've been here for 7 years, so that's longer than anybody else.
I know. I'm an OG.
You've seen evolution.
People come and go and come and go.
I've seen generations of artists in 1980, and I think right now though, we've got like a really, really fertile soil moment happening. Like, I'm really excited because like you just said, I've seen different generations, and right now there's something really special going on with the group that we have. Because we have how many artists here now?
20.
20.
Yeah, that's mad.
It's more than we've ever had.
Yes.
Yeah.
The entire.
Well, I forget if it was Steve or who we were talking to the other day that knew we had been expanding. Was asking how many you got there now, and you said 20, and they were like, "Whoa, wow, you guys have really grown." Like,
Yeah, I mean,
that's significant compared to what it was.
Yeah, there's in this building, there's nowhere else to go. Maybe up or down. We could dig down.
Just
probably.
crane in a couple storage containers.
I like it. We could do it.
1980 2.0.
What are you doing? You just did Lightning in a Bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your experiences teaching and participating at festival art, which is different than local, like a Noise Revolt or a monthly.
Absolutely.
Like LIB is like a much bigger deal once a year, and you got to qualify. And then when you're there, you're like, oh fuck, I sold myself as a teacher. Now I got to teach all these people who show up on time and they're ready to go. And you're like, here we go. So
I would love to tell you about that.
What was the first time you taught? What was it and when was it? Was it at the last location?
So my first experience of Lightning in a Bottle was going with Noise Revolt and helping them coordinate workshops for the Revo Lounge. So in a weird way, I've kind of never had like the GA experience, the general admission.
Special. I like it.
Well, I think I approached festivals less from a party. Like I wanted to offer something. And I kind of like having a reason like to be there and something to share. So it was only natural. Also, they're very expensive. So I was an art student, we're pinching our pennies. So having the opportunity to go and work there and coordinate was my first LIB. And that was in the old location up in Bradley, California. It was a mission. Pre-lake. Yeah, it was dry.
Pre-water, anyway.
Very dusty.
The lake was there, just didn't have any water.
Yeah, they're both looking at me, guys, because I've only been to the new location that's on this lake. So when it's
literal grass.
When it's on Memorial Day outside of Bakersfield, you can sit in the lake, and it was not always like that.
I kind of love the location change, if I'm being honest, and I know a lot of people have different feelings about it. Mm-hmm. But as someone who was at the time like rapidly approaching 30, I was like, I don't know how many more bridges, and like I don't know if I could do Bradley again.
It was a lot of
giant wolf spiders the size of my hand.
It was a lot of up and down.
Wild boars at one point were
Like 6
spotted.
miles and then but not flat, up and down. Yeah.
I mean, I'm an Energizer bunny. I like to think I'm pretty.
What did you teach
Pretty
the
tough.
first time?
So I started teaching in 2018. It was the last year that it was at Bradley. And it was the first year of the Art Clave. And
Shout out
back to White Cube, actually. And Noise Revolt, the reason that I got involved in the first place was because of the connections I made there. And a lot of the original Art Clave crew, from the people who did the sound, people who like DJ'd, between the classes, the people who did the decor, people who built the furniture, they were all from that same scene of Noise Revolt, White Cube. So I knew all these people already. We've done this before. We're just doing it here now. And they need art teachers? Like, say less. I'm perfect. Like they came to me and they're like, can you help us? And I recruited for the class for instructors, and I taught 2 classes.
What did you teach?
I taught watercolor and figure drawing. And the figure drawing one was, I personally would not want to teach that again. That's just a big lesson for a lot of festival goers.
Iliac crust.
Yeah, because we've talked so much on
so much
on this program about
watercolor is easy though. I love.
And now you're leading it, which is a whole ass other scenario
At a festival.
I have to say though, we rolled with the punches. I've never been someone who's shied away from public speaking. I have no problem speaking to a crowd. If you can't tell, hello. If anything, cameras are weird, but like speaking to an audience is not a problem. If you guys are only listening and
not on YouTube, you're getting half the experience. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That's fine.
I mean, there's all right, whatever.
We forget the whole time.
Rock and roll.
So, I guess in order to make that make sense, I kind of have to mention like my day job. Like I'm an admissions advisor right now for Academy of Art University, but previously for Laguna College of Art and Design. So they'd fly me around to different places and have me present, sometimes in front of an audience of 160 high schoolers in an auditorium. Like if you can present in front of 160
and what do you
high
present?
schoolers,
what do you present?
Like I'm bulletproof, baby. There's nothing you can do to derail me.
Right.
And I don't need a script. I don't need to like follow the bullets. If somebody's class clowning me, like I'm rolling with it.
Well, you know your shit hard enough to be able to deal with hecklers.
Honestly, I welcome it. Let's all have an
That's the attitude I like right there.
Let's dance.
Yeah, we talked about how certain things blend together. I'm like, come on, throw me something interesting. Sick of getting the same old questions. I love it. Challenge me.
So, your
so
first
doing
year,
that was
it went
natural.
well. It went well. So you're like,
it went amazing.
I'm gonna go back.
I've taught every year since. I have to tell Shakol, which oh my gosh, shout out Shakol Hamlet. She is absolute warrior. I can think of a few people I respect more than her. Mastermind and incredible.
And what does she do?
Leader.
For the.
She is in charge of she's my crew lead for Art Clave, and she also has run like family camp and other things, so it's not nice. Art Clave isn't her only responsibility. So she's basically just the people manager for all of our crazy asses, and I know how it is to coordinate artists. It is hurting cats. So I think that I keep getting invited back to these kinds of things and getting a positive response from the people who make these decisions, because I know how to coordinate myself. Because I've done the coordinating, so I'm like, I know how to make this your job easier. That's my job. Is for me to be the one person you don't have to worry about. I just show up and do my thing, and yeah.
Fast forward to this year, what did you teach? How was it different at the new location, and now that you're like a tenured 5-year resident teacher at Lightning in a Bottle? Some people will never get to go to a very cool ass festival. It's very awesome.
It's hard to describe.
It's pretty dope.
It would take all of the time we have for me to try to paint this picture of what it's like to go to a festival like Lightning in a Bottle.
But that being said, but what did you teach, and how's it different now being seniored and like experienced versus when you very first did it?
Okay, let me think on that. So how is it? What did I teach? I taught bookbinding.
It's like
I've
3 weeks ago, right?
Bookbinding multiple years now.
Oh no! I mean, it was Memorial
May.
Day.
Okay, so like a month.
Yeah, Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
It feels like yesterday. I taught bookbinding. That's my favorite class to teach now. I will continue to teach that class at every festival that will allow me to teach it.
People came, they liked it?
Absolutely. It was the first workshop of the festival, 10 a.m. on Thursday.
Wow.
And I was like, this is going to be a tiny class. Like, nobody's really going to, like, wake up at 10 a.m.
Books.
First day of the festival and be like, let's make a book.
Yeah,
No. It was completely full. I
Were
was
you
walking
ready?
around like, does anybody have any extra paper? Like,
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was fantastic. It went off perfectly. And there was this one girl, I wish I could remember her name. I think her name was Grace. She posted this video, and I recently shared it on my Instagram, where she did a tour through what she called her LIB yearbook. So I kind of encourage people to use this book as a way to unplug, a way to document their experience, a way to write down contact information for all the new friends they're going to make, and, you know, capture something from LIB that's more tangible. And since the festival has transitioned from giving like a scheduled booklet that's printed out to having an app where you see the schedule on your phone, I personally don't want to mess with my phone sometimes.
Especially
So
at a festival, yeah.
yeah. So
You could lose it.
You go there to get away from your phone.
Yeah, so I was encouraging people to treat this like an alternative for that. And you can write down your meetup plans. You can write down, you know, the set times or whatever you need. So that way you have the information you need. You know exactly where it is. You don't have to shuffle through screens to get there. And it kind of turned into this beautiful thing where everybody at the end of the class was like, will you sign my yearbook? Will you sign my yearbook? And I loved it. They were all asking me to sign their yearbooks, and we talked and
It's a throwback.
set
That's
intention
awesome.
for what we're doing. And I watched some people, because supplies became limited and people started kind of coming in and just joining in, I watched as people formed new friendships right in front of my face. And
Because of your facilitation.
Yes.
But don't give yourself the credit, you know?
well, thank you. I mean,
Good. Awesome.
thank you. You're right. I should be like, yes, you're welcome for your new friends, everyone. You wouldn't have those if it were for me. No.
Sign
I'm
my
kidding.
yearbook.
But
Yeah.
this girl, Grace, gave this amazing little tour through her book and how it was at the end of the festival, which normally I wouldn't really get to see because it was the first day.
It was the beginning of the festival.
Well, she posted on social media
Oh,
what her
okay.
book was like at the end,
Okay,
like what
right.
she did with
Okay,
it.
cool.
So in the beginning, that first day, we set this big intention as a class, and it was so wholesome, and I was so excited. But a part of me wonders, like, do they use their books, or are they just getting tossed, or like? And then to see this shining example and this really, really happy, beautiful
Should make
girl
you proud. That's great.
just filling it with joy, I almost cried. I was like, that's why I do this.
Do you notice other changes as a more general festival goer teacher experience, like from that new site now at Bakersfield versus what was it, Bradley?
Mm-hmm.
Like the vibe, like the camps, the instruction. Like I'm
I
not
think-
sure because
Yes and
I
no.
painted live several times
That answer
at
can
Bradley.
be. Can I answer that question for you?
Yeah, please.
That answer could potentially become controversial because I do think there are people who are, oh, I wish I went back to Bradley, and there's
Okay.
other people that are like, no, I like Bakersfield.
What's
and
some positives? then?
My personal opinion is there's pros and cons. The pros of Bakersfield is it's convenient. It's more close to, that's personal and selfish of me being in Southern California.
And the con is
The
Bakersfield.
con is Bakersfield.
Con
But-
is the odor.
But also, I do have to say, I think it's been a success. I don't
good.
think we've had a bad year. Even when there was crazy thunderstorms in, I think it was 2019. Yeah, the one right before the pandemic pause. Like, having some infrastructure, like roads, sidewalks, a little
Sure.
general store. Like I said, at that point in my life, I was rapidly approaching my 30s, and I'm like, there's a little less walking. It's a little less dust. And also, like, there's cute little, like, groundhogs that are popping out of the gopher holes. Like, I don't know,
That's
something
fun.
about this is, like, a little more wholesome. It feels a little more comfortable. So I'm not going to argue with that.
Cool.
But would I still go out and put myself in harsher elements? Absolutely. And even this year at LIB, there was a day, it was Friday, with 35-mile-per-hour winds. Yeah, I know. Try painting in 35-mile-per-hour winds and crazy full sun.
And it's mad dusty out there, too. It's a very, shall we say, challenging plein air environment.
Right.
No joke. You know all about plein
Sure.
air and painting in the elements, but
And you
doing
haven't-
it
you
for
haven't
multiple
been to-
days and starting and finishing a painting that's going to be in an auction
Yeah.
And I literally had no room in my car, and I was like, I have to sell this painting.
Well, tell people about the auction process when you paint live for the 4 days or whatever, and then it's at the end. There's an auction, people could buy it.
Yeah, so LIB is unique in the sense that for an artist, sometimes when I do events, I'll bring something I already have kind of in progress, or I'll bring two. I'll bring one that's like 80% done, and then one that's 10% done or completely blank. So if I feel like going hard in the paint, I got it. But also if like somebody's coming around taking photos, like they're not going to catch me in the ugly stage, or like there's something representative of my work there. But at LIB, the pressure's on because you show up and you have a blank canvas.
Well, and they require that. You can't bring that's.
They provide
I just want to let the viewers know because that is a very unique.
It is unique
live painting setup that you have to show up with absolutely nothing prepared. And then it's finished within. I mean, you can have accessories and shit, but the canvas has to be blank.
You can have a drawing and
the canvas has to be blank. And
yeah,
then it's
you do it. You start and finish it
in whatever 5 days.
And it's going in the auction
and
the
auction is
on Sunday.
And how is that process? You put it on the easel, you price it. Is there a minimum bid?
Well, also it's interesting.
Silent auction, auctioneer.
Can I answer the pricing question?
Sure.
So you actually have to set your starting bid and your buy it now price before weeks before you even get there.
Oh wow!
Oh,
so I'm pricing a painting I haven't made yet.
I'm
writing a check that I'm not sure I can cash. So I mean, my strategy, and I think a lot of artists should. This is what I always recommend when people ask me this: price low. Like
in this situation,
under promise, over deliver, and it is an auction. So make your starting bid low, make your buy it now higher, and if there's going to be a bidding war, let it go for what it's worth to the people, and let it be. It starts at LIB and it ends at LIB. So I set my starting bid at the minimum, which was like something like $600 or $700. And yeah, I mean, it ended up selling, but I've seen amazing pieces of artwork not get a single bid because it's just slightly above the echelon of what this audience can afford. And I want to make my work priced accessible,
especially
where people like me can actually buy it.
On day 4 at a festival that is kind of pricey, and you can spend money while you're there.
Yeah, I mean, I spent
like very 20. Easily spend money
people are spending $20 on like grilled cheese. Like it's not a cheap place to exist.
They see a piece of art they like, they might not be like, oh, I really like it, but I'm not going to drop another like $1,500.
Can I tell you guys about the people who bought my painting though?
Of course.
Can I?
Patrons.
So the
new collectors, and this just made the experience for me. I'm so blessed. It just filled my heart. The wholesomeness. The couple that bought the painting, I didn't know who had bid on it at the time, but it was just a coincidence. I happened to be there Monday morning when they came back to come and pick up my painting to take it home, and I got to meet them, and it was this amazing couple, Marco and Chelsea, I think, if I'm getting that right, and they had just gotten married. They're newlyweds. Wow.
And Chelsea was 3 months pregnant, their first kid.
Wow.
And they told me they just bought their first house up in the Bay Area, and they fell in love at lightning in a bottle, or, just the most beautiful little story. And then they saw my painting, and they wanted that to be the first piece of artwork that they put in their new home for their new family.
I mean,
wow, dude, you're setting the stage.
Are you
for
serious?
Their whole endeavor as parents. That's awesome.
It's good fuel for the.
It took everything I had to not ugly cry in front of them. But
you should have. That would have made them love the painting so much more.
If there is a photo of them and me standing, and I'm in between them, and you can tell I'm on.
You're on the edge.
I am holding it together.
I love it.
But I mean, that's why I do this.
That's great.
And I think just to say one thing for whoever is listening that I feel is important, looking at festivals from the outside looking in, I think it's really, really easy to typecast it. And it's easy to say, oh, I get it. That's, what that is. People want to do this for, being crazy.
Outfits, yeah.
It's all about certain things or substances or party. And I want to underline the wholesomeness, the meaningful interactions, and the genuine love that is there to be experienced and had. It's not all nightlife, if you know what I mean. And that's why that LIB stands out to me as like, that's a forever festival. Like, I'll do that one every year.
And also the art was a direct conduit to that feeling, like the interplay of,
I mean, that's what I aim for. There's no better destination for what I'm trying to do than for it to have that kind of meaning to somebody else.
Bloops, loops, and swirls.
Right? I know, the silly stuff I do. Like, it... The fact that
That's an important chapter title, though. Bloops, loops, and swirls. It's not squirrels. Swirls.
There could be squirrels.
Yeah, there could be. Well, people do, as an aside.
Squirrels are kind of swirly. And there's also squirrels at LIB.
To introduce everybody into this new segment of tonight's episode, bloops, loops, and swirls. I clearly need to go back to
it's okay, we're all
enunciation school.
That's our segment.
This is like the 6th episode of you guys?
Yeah, in like
what's my
3 days or something. But in the fundamentally abstract style of what you are doing, I'm about to announce my unsureness. Myself, as well as lots of other people that I have watched firsthand, some of whom are old friends and have seen a shit ton of your paintings and they're looking at a new release. Others who are somebody who's come here for the first time, they've never heard of you, your style, nobody. All across the spectrum have looked at these, and sometimes they're chemically assisted, a lot of times they're dead sober, and sometimes it'll be 10 seconds, sometimes it'll be 10 minutes. And they'll be, 10 inches away or 10 feet away, and they'll look at these things and they'll find all kinds of mad forms in there amidst the fundamental objects of the painting, which you have amazingly titled Bloops, Loops, and Swirls. And I want to hear a little bit more about
Bloops, Loops, and Swirls
like
is
the
just
meaningfulness of
kind
that.
Those
are the title too.
I mean, it's like sort of what it is. Just like the onomatopoeia, onomatopoeia, like
what?
Bloop, loop, swirl. Like they sound like what they are.
Sure.
Like bloop. What? I'm
like a horn honking is an onomatopoeia. Or when a shark knocks down a door, that's a gashunk.
Okay.
It's an onomatopoeia.
Eric's with me.
We could do a whole segment on titling paintings.
This is why we enjoy each other's vocabulary, Eric. So can you distill that question into something like a little bit more concise so I can make sure that I'm hitting my target here?
The meaningfulness of, because your oeuvre of this particular movement is huge, and you very amazingly condensed it into the title, Bloops, Loops, and Swirls. So I want to hear your personal version / vision of like the meaningfulness of that term.
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Paintings.
Yeah.
There are dozens of different sizes and shapes.
All right, this is a big one. Yeah. Let me mentally chew on this for a moment. So what I'm kind of hearing in terms of what you want to know is why I paint bloopy loopy swirlies and what that means.
What it means
I think those questions are ones that I get really often and I leave intentionally vague because the whole intention is to not define something. And you know this, Eric, because when I title my work, I title it intentionally to not define it. So some of my paintings...
Like poetically, but also what the fuck does that mean?
You know from personal experience. Eric has helped with that incredible vocabulary.
What's that one called?
This one actually is not the most like verbose in terms of like or at least not the most interesting.
Okay.
This is Crown Jewel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Special place in my heart. My little.
Well, and it has 5 sides. It's an unusual
baby.
shaped canvas. It's like a diamond.
Very SoCal.
I think my favorite is the 6-sided one called Hexual Ceiling. And it's ceiling like the roof. There's a double, triple.
I like to infuse humor into my work. I think coming from a background in art school days where it was very strictly representational, there were right and wrong answers, and it's white walls and black turtlenecks and snooty, pointy, uppy noses. I very much rebelled against that in infusing humor and whimsy and lightheartedness and joy into the way I present my work now. And calling it abstract, you're not wrong, but when you really, I find abstract to be just kind of an interesting word when you really break it down.
And it can be lazily applied also.
Because, it's kind of a filler for like, I don't know what that is. So it's abstract. And it's okay. So sometimes people ask me like, oh, what is it? And I'm like, oh, it's a painting.
Upright.
Oh, this?
Canvas?
Oh, it's a painting.
Well, you say upright, but I know, Amy, that you've done this where people will be looking at one of your works that's a conventionally rectangular one, and you'll not say anything to them or announce that you're the artist.
Oh, yeah, I love that. That's my favorite thing.
Long ass time.
Oh, I love to do that.
And then you'll walk up, grab it off the wall, rotate it 180, throw it back on the wall.
And they look at me like, who is this random person messing with the art? Like, they're almost going to call security. I love that. I love that. So, kind of to get back to answering that question, though, is my work abstract? Personally, I wouldn't necessarily put it in that bubble. But I do think abstract is an umbrella term, and it's not incorrect. However, I'd say it's more biomorphic than anything. So I'm very influenced.
That's probably a hashtag not a lot of people are using. You got to get on that.
Maybe biomorphic abstraction is a practice that is creating this work. And also, too, like I said earlier, my artwork, where I'm at, isn't aiming at the finish line. I'm in practice. It's a process. Mm-hmm. It's something that is an activity that I engage in, much like a gardener. I'm not planting, I'm in there every day.
It's also a sentiment we've heard several times in these last few episodes. Even the term gardening, actually.
Well, plants are great, so.
Yeah.
But even in the last episode, when Nancy was like...
She's like, I'm in and out.
She's
this is the right time for a Plantifa callback?
That's a whole ass joke only bonus subscribers will receive. Sorry. But, join our Patreon. But, no, our last guest, who's, 70 plus years old, and, Jesse, you asked the question, like, so, you've experimented with so many different things, like, have you found your vision? And she goes, no, like, I think that's coming. That's, like, coming up pretty soon. I'm targeting that.
Can I actually say something else on this topic that I think is important for the record to show? Is that I can draw things and paint things. I actually still do frequently. We have life drawing workshops here, and that is a huge part of, and also connects to what you originally asked me not too long ago, because we're kind of like circling the same question in a bunch of different ways of like how is 1980 influenced my style and what that style is and like what it's intended to be.
Great tell.
So my practice as an artist absolutely still includes representational, skill-based drawing and painting. Now,
which I've seen and she is good at.
I know, but I kind of so many people they'll see me like drawing in my sketchbook or something or on my iPad, and they're like, "What?
Oh, you could draw."
I was one of them in my early days here. I'll fully admit to that.
I like act surprised. I'm like,
it's a good qualification now to set the record straight.
Well, it's really there's also this thing in high art, not to interrupt you, but we are interviewing you. I'd love to answer your question. So there is this thing in high art that's called conscious de-skilling. So it's kind of like, I can do anything. I earned it, or like I can draw that, I can draw that, I can draw that, I can draw that. But I want to do something that nobody can do but me now. I want to draw something I can't see. I want to draw something that I can only feel. I want to connect to other people's feelings with that. And I think a lot of people try and go straight there. They try and draw from imagination. They try and paint a feeling. And they're struggling, or they're missing something, or it's not connecting in the way. And the reason I think why I had to tie my expressive arms behind my back for 4 years and draw the still life,
Validation.
No, it was to be able to access the spectrum of image making that I needed to say exactly what I wanted to say.
Out of the imagination.
Because what I'm doing isn't, I know for a fact, I'm not creating this work because it's all I can do. I'm creating it because, honest to God, it feels really good.
That's great.
It feels really good to make it. Like, I had such a good time painting this. Like, look at it. It feels good to paint
it's a party, yeah.
And I hope it feels good to look at. Yeah, I want it to feel like a massage for your eyeballs.
It's like
eye candy. I want it to taste good in a visual way. So doing stuff for
like this.
pleasure.
Yeah. That's how the painting sounds.
I love that button. I love that button so much.
Yeah, that's a great point, Amy.
So yeah, I'm super passionate about this.
Yeah.
And I could speak on the abstract, representational topic debate all day. I worked for LCAD for 6 years, and I was told when I first worked there, I mean, love LCAD, no shame. This was under the old administration, that I could not hang abstract artwork in my office because it was setting a bad example. Like, I mean, truthfully, I'd tell my students, like, don't put this in your portfolio. Like, do what I say, not what I do, you know? And you got to eat your vegetables before you get to have dessert, my child.
It's so brittle and, like, kind of...
That's well stated.
Kind of short on... Like,
but it did feel a little bit...
It's, like, self-conscious.
There was a cognitive dissonance, I guess, like, in existing in this, like, more formalized environment where everybody's trying to show off, look what I can do, look what I can do, I can do that better than you. And then I'm just over here painting fucking rainbow swirls. Like I named a painting Rainbow Pop-Tart. Or no, Wildberry Pop-Tart. And honestly, Wildberry Pop-Tart is one of my favorite paintings. I feel like that is a very intentional, like, fork in the road that I took. And I'm very confidently proud of, and I have no regrets of not taking myself too seriously, consciously de-skilling, and choosing to paint for joy and pleasure.
Yeah. The emotion, I love it, versus the outcome, you know. And our last guest said the same thing. They were like, we're in a position where we never had to actually sell a painting. So we're painting to paint what we want to paint.
That's such a luxury.
But it didn't stop. Yeah. It didn't stop them from exploring these things.
That's why I have a day job.
But to your point, though,
because I want to keep my...
Yeah, authentic, real.
I mean, even still, it is a luxury to live to your ideals, especially in today's world. Sorry, there's like a bug. This is going to look awkward in the video, but whatever.
It's fine. That's it.
It is what it is.
New dance we're doing.
Definitely going in the...
I will ask you this because we're in like a compressed time frame.
Sure, you guys are getting me all excited. Focus me.
Well, I've asked the other artists the same thing. During your short career, because... rapidly approaching 30, you said.
Well, no, I'm over 30 now. Okay. That was talking about.
So now the
previous venue of LIB. I'm 32. Everyone, I just turned 32. There's a 3 in front of me.
Slowly drifting
despite
away
my
from
youthful
30.
Appearance.
Is there any time during your professional academic career or being out there in all the festival scene and the party scene and the art and teaching? Is there a time where being a female artist was either had you an advantage or a disadvantage, or if you're gonna give advice to a younger female artist, like something to watch out for? Is it not that big a deal? We've had all kinds of different answers. Yeah. We're going into feminine undertones, all female artist show.
I see what you're getting at.
And so what I'm saying is it's a platform you say, like, whatever you got to say to coach people up.
I'm so glad you're asking everybody this. First of all, thank you for like acknowledging that there's a unique perspective and a lived experience. And I'm really genuinely grateful you guys are actually curious about. Because I think when I have a couple stories, but I'll keep it brief. But like anecdotes that are, I think, very relevant to share in response to that. But I often don't share those because it kind of feels like, as a woman, it's like I'm just harping on the same drum, you know? Like, I'm not going to complain about that. And I'm a positive person. I don't like to point out negativity. I when I'm faced with challenges and barriers in my life, I see it as like an opportunity to like, look at me. But this is wrong, you know?
A learning podcast.
You don't think I can do something? Watch me.
A positive. We're trying to empower younger artists, and
can I share? Can I share a story?
Explain,
I think as just looking at my identity, not just as a woman, but also as a petite little blonde girl. Like, I think I often get underestimated. Very, very often. And I'm a goofy person, too. I don't take myself too seriously. So I think it's very easy to look at me and say, oh, here's this little blonde girl who grew up in Orange County and went to art school in Laguna Beach and kind of has a little bit of a Valley girl accent. Maybe doesn't have the best grammar all the time. You know, I'm in a silly, goofy mood. It's very easy to assume something about me. That I'm not intellectual, that I'm not intelligent,
They
that
might-
I'm not qualified, that I'm not responsible. Those assumptions that people
A
make.
dismissive attitude. if you will.
Nobody says that to your face,
Okay.
but I'm intuitive as well. And especially in my professional life where I have to be an authority figure. So not that I want to talk about my day job forever, but a big part of that was literally making admissions decisions. And me and I'm one of 6 people that are deciding if this student gets into this college and how much scholarship they get.
Wow.
And I have students that I have to stand up in front of my boss and my coworkers and advocate for and go to bat for them.
Yeah.
So like I have to be powerful. I cannot flinch. And standing in front of 160 high schoolers too, like I was saying earlier, giving presentations, you get a little class clown. I remember doing my interview for that job and they're like, what would you do if somebody was clowning you? And I was like, well, first of all, don't show any fear. Teenagers can smell fear. And that's true. I have to be bulletproof. And honestly, I take pride and kind of get a sick thrill out of it. Please underestimate me.
Hell yeah.
I cannot wait to prove you wrong. A battle of wits. Oh, say less. Let's go. And what's interesting, and you kind of, just to sum it up and quickly, there have been times in that professional life where I've had another art school rep, I won't say which one, come up and say, oh, do you want a portfolio review? Thinking I was a high school student.
Ugh.
And I just got to point to my name tag and I'm like, no, we're having one. I'm LCAD.
Okay. Wow.
I'm giving one.
Yeah.
Dismissed. So my advice is to find pride in those moments and take pride in that unexpected. So yeah, if you're often underestimated, live for that opportunity to show off and be like, look at me. Take pride in yourself. And you don't have to make people feel bad about it. Oftentimes it's an honest mistake. Oh, I look young? Fantastic. Whatever. Does it somewhat impose a bit of a hurdle I have to jump over in order for people to, respect what I'm saying and assume that I know what I'm talking about? And it just makes it 1-2 steps before I can actually, do my job? Yes. But you have to find the humor in it. And you have to roll with the punches. And you have to find a way to use that to your advantage. It's not what the patriarchy did to us. It's what we can make the patriarchy do for us. You know what I mean? I need a big, strong man to carry this for me because I'm so small. I'm just lazy. I can carry it. But also, you want to help me. So, oh, wow, thank you so much. You just did a thing and now you feel helpful. And I didn't have to do something I didn't want to do. Symbiosis.
Wait, you mean everybody wins?
Yeah.
Oh.
You get to feel like a big, strong man. And, I didn't have to carry that.
Well said.
So, accept help, but own your value. And do not let anyone define your identity for you. Just because you look a certain way or people assume a certain thing of you, you use your voice, girl. If there is a little girl listening for some reason to this podcast, that is what I have to say to you, is do not believe people when they underestimate you. Live for those moments that you get to prove them wrong and find satisfaction in them.
Let's go.
Yeah, not vengeance. Take it easy. But
no, that's some
Yeah.
shamanic, Buddhist master shit right there. That's really good.
Just deep breaths. Let things roll and keep it silly. But yes.
But
I find humor and love those moments, looking back at. And also, I've had more often than not. There was one teacher, I won't say who, at a certain school, who the first day I walked into his class to present to his AP art class, he just wanted to he looked at me like I was just walking straight out of graduation. And meanwhile, I'm 27, when this was happening. I'm okay, hun. And you just gotta let them talk. They want to hear themselves talk. They want to say their stuff. They want to
be the boss.
Be the boss. And you don't need to prove them wrong. You don't need to say oh, well, my credentials, I didn't have anything to prove. I proved what I needed to prove by doing a really, really good job and helping some really incredible students. If I had chosen in that moment to have beef with this teacher and feel oh, I'm not respected.
It takes away from them.
I'm not helping anybody by doing that. Instead, I just focused on what I was here to do. And then a couple years later, of me genuinely being an amazing counselor for his students, that guy ate his words and treated me with a lot of respect.
Well, very, very well said. Thanks for that summation. I mean, that's
fantastic. Actually.
right. Yeah, we haven't.
But can I say one last thing on this? I do want to acknowledge too, though, my position of privilege. Like, even though I have had to work really hard from where I'm at, there's so many reasons that I was in the right place, right time. I've been around the right people, and I've been fortunate. And not everybody does have those advantages. So it is easy for me to sit here and say, let the punches roll and let it roll off your shoulder. But like for real though, like I have 100% gratitude and understanding. But that's also why a big part of what I do with college admissions is trying to like bring up opportunities for people who like maybe aren't even aware that they exist for them. And sometimes that's all it takes is just exposure. Because thankfully I found mine, but it takes other people like me doing that too.
I hope any young artists listening to this just got motivated.
Me too.
Why what you said.
If you did, hit me up. Like I'll help you out.
Admit.
Yeah, I mean, that energy, it's like be strong, be humble.
I love that.
Walk softly, but carry a big stick kind of energy. That was awesome.
Well, I've always felt like my purpose in this life, it's not to make beautiful artwork. It's like, I don't care if my name's at the bottom of it at all. Not even a little bit. I actually don't sign my paintings. It feels really uncomfortable and vain. And it like messes with the look of it. Like, can you imagine like having like my name on there? Weird, right? Who does that?
And it's also obviously that it's yours.
I'll sign the back of it, like, so for archival reasons, for cataloging it, but it's not about the ego in it. And also that's advice too for anybody, not just women, but anybody going into the arts. Like, if you're coming into this with your ego first, like, you're going to get humbled really quick.
Good luck.
Yeah.
This
ain't American Idol.
The art world
you're about to get discovered. Like, if you don't love doing it, like I always say, like, it's like a calling. Like, I didn't choose this. Unfortunately, I just, like, had to. Like, it chose me. I would have picked something much more lucrative. But...
well, then it chose us to be together.
Yeah. You kidding
me? If we keep doing enough of these, maybe it will be. But
I wouldn't change a thing.
Who knows?
Yeah. So...
Oh, I know it'll be lucrative.
Yeah, shout out to all the angel
So my purpose
investors.
really, just to jump back to the overall there that I was trying to say, is, like, I don't care if my name is at the bottom of my art, of whatever artwork. Like, the end result isn't the purpose that gets me out of bed in the morning. What really drives me is I was put here on this earth to make sure that for my having existed at all, I leave this place a more beautiful, more meaningful, and more creative place than how I entered it. And I think the most effective way so far in my life that I've been able to accomplish that is through inspiring others and through passing the torch and not gatekeeping and saying you can too and putting the brush in other people's hands. And I've seen that manifest too in live painting. I can name at least 5 live painters who are doing amazing, kick-ass, awesome things. Like, I'm hitting them up for opportunities now. I'm like, yo, can you get me into that event you're doing? And then they'll be like, oh my God, I wouldn't have had my start if it weren't for you. You were the first one who ever booked me. And I'm just like, me? Like, having that impact and being able to be just a little domino in a small part of, like, this person's journey means absolutely everything to me. And I think people need to find satisfaction in sharing that power more than trying to sell paintings with their name on the bottom of them for $10,000 and upping their ego and follower count, like going for the clout and the ego and the money. Like, if that is just something that I can smell it from a mile away. And I personally, I mean, no offense, everyone can define success for themselves as an artist. And there are definitely times when you have to sell yourself. I need to get better at that. Sell my paintings. Right. I hate pricing them, but just like that, there's a balance,
Sure.
But for me personally, like, I think that the passion-driven approach is everything. I wouldn't be here otherwise, and I wouldn't be happy.
We wouldn't be together.
I'm very happy. I'm a happy girl.
Happy together. Well said, Amy.
Great.
And thanks for being our guest, our
6th
guest, and
thanks for letting me
6 days
go on tangents and
it's great. Your tangents
banter with you guys.
Fluid. It's fantastic.
I hope so. I've never been on a podcast before.
Well, this is our end of our marathon, I think. We got
believe so.
some
Best
editing
for
to
last.
do, some promotion, some clips. and
Can we
stuff.
talk about when the show is and like that people should come to it?
Take it away.
Okay, so the women's show, Feminine Undertones, is next weekend as of today, but this is probably coming out later. So the 29th, Saturday, the
June.
29th of June. Feminine Undertones at Location 1980 Gallery in West Side Costa Mesa, 1980 Placentia Avenue, right across from Moon Goat Coffee. So, you know, and we're going to have complimentary valet. We are going to have live painting by moi. So you can come up and ask me, you know, all the questions,
Studio
do the
tours.
things. I'll even like let you do a brushstroke.
Meet the artist.
Yeah.
Do a blue.
You could do a bloop on my painting. Like,
Might
trust
even
me,
do a
I can
swirl.
handle it. Might even do a swirl.
Don't get
I'm
carried
dead
away.
serious. If you mention that you watched this podcast or listened to this podcast and you're like, hey, you told me that I could bloop or swirl here, like, I'm putting the brush in your hand immediately. Like, for sure.
Love it.
I mean, not on this one, but like on one that I'm currently in progress. I mean, what's the worst you could do? I'll paint over it. But
So come and check it out in person if you're
Please
in
come
SoCal.
and
or
support us,
if
women.
not, yeah,
We're also all very beautiful and pretty.
that helps.
Hot girl summer.
That does help. We're
God
not,
bless Heaven.
but
What other hooks can I offer to get people to
What-
come?
also, if you can't come, check it out
Free
online.
pizza.
You can always
No?
support.
Are we having pizza?
You can support by watching the podcast. Like
Sharing it.
Yeah.
If you
Subscribe,
like it,
share.
send it to your friends. That's the best thing you can do. You thought
Yeah,
this was
make a
good
meme
stuff.
out of it.
Share it to somebody.
You can meme me.
Meme
I
all
will
of us,
accept.
please.
I can accept being made fun of, and I would find it flattering if
Jill
anyone-
made my brother meme. It was awesome.
Yeah, download the impact font, screenshot us, get on our Discord.
Yeah.
Get on the Discord.
Come hang out.
Yes, community Discord. It's not just the artists.
It should be fun.
Fans.
Yeah,
But
I
thanks
also
again,
teach
Amy.
workshops here too. I'm kind of trying to pivot to more individualized workshops because I meet all these amazing people, and rather than having like a standardized workshop like the ones I do at festivals, I just want people who want to create to like hit me up and be like, yo, I've got a group of 5. We like painting, or we want to make books, and I'm like, come on down. Like
Do work.
yeah.
Do artwork.
Yeah, I have all the stuff. You know, I've got more art supplies than I could use in my life, and I'm
That's
bored.
fair.
Come make art with me.
Well, thanks for tuning in. That's
This is
it.
a
We're
weak
gonna
high
wrap
five.
it. We're gonna wrap it, and
Gonna aim for the elbow.
we're gonna pump out all these episodes in the next couple days.
Couple days. Dude,
Cool.
I'm thinking we're going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday.
So how'd I do? Like on a scale of like 1 to 10? Like,
At least like 9 and like 9.8.
all right.
And it's a log scale. So
Really? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
for
flat.
sure.
I was expecting you to say like 6.
No.
Wow, this guy's, you know, Uncle Jesse.
Also known as the Australian
You're
man,
you're
but-
my biggest critic, but also in the best way.
She said I wasn't. Jill said I wasn't a curmudgeon. I was just.
Jill, how'd I do? I
I
trust
was
her
just a
judgment.
little bit of a bastard.
Jill says
not a
10.
curmudgeon,
Jill
definitely
says
not.
Yeah.
Jill says I'm a 10.
Fantastic.
All right, cool. Feminine
Yeah, this is
undertones.
great. Cheers, yeah.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers up.
Thank you.
That's a wrap. That's awesome.
Love you guys.